Okay?
Mhm.
That's not the standard when we take care of professional athletes. The standard when we take care of professional athletes is what they call RTP, return to play. The only question
Mhm.
anybody wants is, hey, doc, how quickly can I get him or her back? What is the return to play?
Mhm.
How quickly can they come back? No one ever asks, well, what's in their best interest? They never ask that simple question because that's really not the primary concern. When can I have their
Mhm.
skill set back so I can make money off of them? That's the business that they're in. And I'm not big on apportioning blame, but one of the things that concerns me is
Mhm.
the MMA fans. And some of this
Yeah.
blame, to me, rightly needs to be laid at the feet of the MMA fans because one of the things that I see on Twitter all the time is, hey, nobody put a gun to their head and forced them to do this. They know this is a dangerous sport when they get into it. They're grown men. I don't give a damn about them. Hey, they knew what they were doing. They get paid well. They knew what they were signing up for. Not my job to protect them. Their job to fight.
Mhm.
Nobody. They're grown. Nobody forced them. They're grown men and women. Nobody forced them to do it. Really? Oh, okay. I mean, if that's the way you see it, hey, I can't quarrel with your opinion. Everybody has one. It's just not the way that I see
Mhm.
it. I mean, people work in coal mines because they do that to feed their family. That's pretty much the reason that most people are fighting in MMA. That's the way that they feed their family. Regardless of that we see it as entertainment, they see it as a paycheck to pay their mortgage and to feed their family. So coal miners, there's safety rules for coal miners. Everybody knows going down in that hole has inherent risks. That mine can collapse on you. Breathing all that coal dust can't be good for you. I mean, not from all the mesothelioma odds I see from the attorneys on TV. So we clearly recognize it has inherent risks. But there's also rules in place. There's simple things that can be done to try to mitigate some of those risks. Why do people feel that that's unreasonable for MMA? Yes, it's a risky sport, but you know what? There's some simple things that we can do to try to make this as safe as reasonably possible for people who are putting it all on the line for our enjoyment. You know, they get beat up. I go back to work on Monday. It's not that big of a deal to me.
Mhm. That's the point. You're right.
So I mean, MMA fans have a particularly cavalier outlook. You know, that's my guy. I love him. I love her. You know, oh, Ronda Rousey's the best. Blah 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 blah. Okay, once she gets hurt, it's on to the next one, and it's whoever hurt her. Oh my! Did you see what happened to Ronda Rousey? I mean, do you remember when everybody was, you know, wasn't there Gina Serrano? Who was that one? You remember everybody was all over Gina Carano. The best thing, oh my God, Gina Carano. Okay, till you can't even hear her name anymore.
But that's the going thing, though. Everybody changes. They go for the latest and greatest thing or person, and they forget about the others. Like I've seen some John Jones fans are like, oh, forget him. I'm not going to be a fan anymore because he's done drugs. Like, dude, seriously? You're either a fan, a true fan, or you're not. And irregardless,
I love that you
people
brought
make
that part up, Rachel, because I've seen somebody who was sitting there as soon as the fight was over. It's like, I told you he would destroy DC. John Jones is the greatest fighter ever. And then 24, 48 hours later, he was like, oh, he's such a disrespectful athlete to do something like that. Like, you literally, it's like you're watching like a bipolar crazy person live and up front, because one minute he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and the next minute he's this horrible, he's the devil, you know?
I mean, I love the past MMA fans, but wow, I mean, you know, you have a very short half-life with MMA fans. That's one thing that I've recognized.
Yes.
They'll say whatever they can type in 140 characters, and the athletes have a very short half-life. So the athletes really need to learn and do what's best for them, their career, and their long-term good health, because they have a very short half-life with MMA fans.
Absolutely. Yeah, I spoke to Art Davey for a little bit, for a good long time, actually. And he said, look, fighters' careers are very short. It is not a long-lived career. It's something that, you know, they'll do for the short term, and then they've got to figure out what to do after for the long term. And fans don't realize that you know, this is short term. This is exciting for them for a short period of time. But this is something that like you said, it's only going to last for it's short. It's very short.
Yeah, I hope it's very short, because, you know, one of the things that Dana White says is, I tell people this is MMA is no long-term career move. Use this as a platform, as a segue to something else in your life. When Gina Carano decided that she was going to do movies and move away from MMA, everybody they just dogpiled on her. Oh, she's the worst, this, that, and the other thing. You know, oh, is Ronda Rousey going to do the same thing and blah, blah, blah. God bless her if she does. I mean, fighting for a living has a very, very short half-life. Get your money and get gone. Don't let the game use you.
Right, absolutely, and that's what I told fighters. Make sure you brand yourself, invest your money into something smart, save for future expenses, for your family. Don't go overboard and be like the Floyd Mayweather and spend money before you even got it. I even tell my younger athletes that I work with, this is the deal. You're not always going to be, you may not make it to UFC, but you may find out that throughout doing this, you may find something else that you like to do that you may be better at. And, man, the sky is the limit with these people. And, I am so sick and tired of seeing John Jones snorts coke, Nike, all kinds of stuff. I'm like, it is the most ridiculous thing, but you don't criticize your next-door neighbor who's doing it. So
it's like we always hold our athletes to a higher standard than what we hold ourselves.
Until they lose. Until they lose.
Go ahead.
Right. But see, athletes are human. They're human. They just happen to be in a different position on a different level than most people are. But that doesn't mean that they're exempt from making any type of mistakes. Now, if you're Justin Bieber, okay, well, you're no longer a fan, because if you continue to screw up, then obviously you have not learned and you'll never learn. But for the most part, most people get it when they mess up. So why are we holding this poor man to this standard that, I'm going to bash you because now you're a celebrity and you're this and you're that? Hello, he's human. At the end of the day, that's who he is. He's a human being with a family and things that he does on, whatever it is that he does outside of UFC. So why not support him in his efforts?
The thing that I say to people is, okay, let's be honest with yourself, okay? For a second, come off your high horse and be honest with yourself. Name me any early 20-something that you can give celebrity and a few $1 million to, and they don't find trouble pretty quickly. It wouldn't have been me.
Right.
Because I would have messed it up so bad, so fast. I mean, it would have been like, whoa, what happened to that dude? I mean, it's just, unfortunately, young people with money and celebrity, bad things find them. And, I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. There's very few people who can survive that. People make mistakes. People get up. I wish nothing but the best for John Jones. The thing that I recognize is when, UFC, Dana White said, hey, we don't have a PED problem. Then it's, we have the most tested athletes in the world. That wasn't true either. Maybe we have an issue, so guess what? We know better than anybody because we're the UFC. We're going to do our own in-house testing. Bad idea. You're a great promoter, but I don't know about, after what you did to Kung Lee and a couple of other things, you pretty much proved you're not the greatest entity to supervise performance-enhancing drug testing. So he says, okay, so everybody says, see, I told you Danny was the greatest person in the world. He probably is. He's going to do that PED test that you've always been complaining and harping about, Dr. Benjamin. Go sit down somewhere, you blowhard. Okay, I'm not going to sit down, but I hear what you're saying. I said, let's wait and see what happens. What happened? He reneged. Nah, man, we ain't gonna do that. I thought better of that. We're not going to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to give more money to the state athletic commission so they can do it. Well, they didn't do such a wonderful job here either, so I don't think they need more money to do it. When are we going to, call a spade and say, you know what? Hey, there are professional entities that do this and do a very good job of it. Whatever personal issues you have, put them aside, cut the check, and step out of the way. And people say, oh, it won't be independent if they're directly paying USADA or VADA. Pay the what the athletic commission ought to do. This is the same thing they already do to me in my medical practice. We have a thing called biohazardous waste. All that stuff that you're not supposed to touch and you throw in the red bag under the counter? I can't just give that to, someone and say, hey, man, can you come throw this away for me? No, it doesn't work that way. The state gives me a short list of approved biohazard waste disposal people and say, hey, you know what? Pick one of these people, sign a contract with them, pay that contract, and send us proof that you did. I can say, yeah, but you know what? My homeboy does it a whole lot cheaper. Why can't I use him? They don't care. They do not care. This is a list of approved providers. We vetted this list. We say they're good enough. We don't care what you think. You pick one, you pay them, and you prove to us that you did on a yearly basis. Okay? If you break the contract with that person for any reason, you fire them, you have to alert us first because you've got to pick someone else within a short period of time. I don't get to pick. I get to pick from a short list. Why couldn't the State Athletic Commission do the same thing with promoters? We've vetted 3 or 4 people who do an adequate job. Here's the policies that they have to uphold. We vetted them. Pick one. Send us the money, and we'll pay it for you. You can't fire them. Only if you have a problem with them, you can file a grievance with us. We'll put you on the agenda, and you can tell us why you want to fire them, and we can tell you if you can or you can't. So therefore, you don't control the process at all. You cut that check and sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
Why can't a situation like that? They already do it for biohazardous waste.
About his test and how everything is when you go back and look at his actual reading, is that he's well below the normal 1-to-1 ratio. I mean, you've been in this for a while, Doc. I mean, is that a red flag?
Let me put it to you like this: the levels can be all over the place, but when I see particularly low numbers and I see particularly high numbers, I start asking questions. It's just the business that I'm in. If my job is to protect you and you have high numbers, I've got to check further.
The isotope test and everything else, what would cause him to have such a low reading like that? I think, what was it, 0.29 or something?
Part of the problem with all these tests is you just can't take one test and say, aha, this is the smoking gun. These are trends. It depends on time of day. It depends on did he train, did he not train, how long has it been since he trained, there's so many things that can change the value of that test. What time of day was it when the test was taken? What you have to do is take tests at specific times along a continuum and see what's the trend of this thing. Okay, we tested at certain times during the days when you worked out, before you after you worked out. What are the trends of these numbers? And then if there's any question in your mind, see the carbon isotope ratio. That tells you very quickly. It doesn't tell you if the ratio is any good. It just tells you did they get it from a source outside their body. And anything that you put in from outside your body, that's going to be illegal in those substances, any amount. So to me, anytime there's a question, don't hang your hat on any one piece of information. But if there's a question, go to CIR, then you know.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there are a lot of fans that are very, I'm just going to put it to you like this, they are very pissed off with UFC. Like they don't really want to support it or watch it anymore. I've seen people with emails to me. I've seen people voice their opinion on my Facebook pages, Twitter. I mean, I'm just wondering how much longer is UFC going to be able to continue the way that they're going? Because now you're losing a fan base. I mean, granted, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. Either way, they're still going to make it. But in the process, you're losing a lot of people.
But, there's no question about that, and everybody talks about they're spreading their talent too thin with too many shows and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have an opinion as an orthopedic surgeon. That's not my area of expertise.
Yeah.
I have an opinion, but that's not worth, it's not worth much. The thing that I have the most concern about is why won't they learn from their brethren in other contact sports, i.e. the NFL?
Yes.
I mean, the NFL has been, smashing heads a lot longer than the UFC has. But there's a lot of commonalities, a lot of things that you can learn. Why does the UFC, and I don't want to just beat up on the UFC. Everybody says, why do you just beat up on the UFC? What problem do you have with Dana? Does he owe you money? I have no problem with Dana, and I love
Dana.
the UFC.
It's not Dana personally. It's just what's going on right now.
Pick Belichick, anyone in MMA. The reason that I talk about the UFC is that's MMA. I mean, that's the elite of MMA. That's as high as it gets. I mean, if I talk about football, I'm going to talk about the NFL. I'm not going to talk about Canadian football or arena football or anything. Not that they don't play, pretty good football. Especially Canada, they play beautiful football. But if you're talking football, you're talking the NFL. If you're talking MMA, the highest level of MMA is the UFC. And if you can create a change in the UFC, that will filter down to all the other leagues. Now, the thing that I don't understand about the UFC is why do we think the experience for MMA athletes 20 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, is going to be any different than what we've seen in the NFL. I mean, why do we not believe that we're going to see CTE, the same thing that we saw juniors say